everybody. Welcome to the Survivor Assassin's Creed postgame podcast number 2. I'm your host, Mason Harrell. To my left, which you can't see, is Cheston Smith, the creator of the game.
What's up, everyone?
And we've also got former winner and co-producer of Survivor Assassin's Creed, Nate Hodson.
Hello.
And then lastly, we'll be talking with winner of Survivor Assassin's Creed, Tyler Hamblin.
What's up?
All right, Tyler. So you won Survivor Assassin's Creed. Was it what you were expecting to do? Did you go in thinking that you were going to win, or was it maybe I'll get there, maybe I won't? Like, just kind of tell us, your opening little thing about your game.
I mean, I'm a really, really big Survivor fan. I've watched Survivor my entire life, honestly, like as long as I can remember. So I know a lot about the game, and like I know a lot of different strategies, and so I was super excited to play. I honestly was just like, make it past the first couple votes because I'm such a big fan and I love the game so much, and I consider myself I thought I would be a good player, that I was just like, God, if I get voted out first, I will be so heartbroken. So, but at the same time, I was confident in myself, and I have my good buddy Chesson here to drive my ego a little bit leading up to the game because he was telling me he thought that I would be a good player. So, yeah, I mean, going in, I was confident that I was going to do good. I wasn't 100% sure I was going to win, but I definitely wanted to win.
For sure. I think that you definitely left everything out there on the battlefield, so to speak. That's what I definitely wanted to see out of the players that we invited. I knew it was going to be a brutal game, a very highly formidable game with great competitors. It's going to be very competitive. And I wanted to make sure that the winner that we got was somebody that was a player, was actually a player. Instead, we got Tyler. I'm just kidding. So, let's see. Tyler, your game, your winning got a lot of negative feedback, right?
Yeah, it did. It was a pretty controversial dub. I can't lie to you.
So, do you think that the controversy was earned, was well deserved, or?
I think the controversy is it's partly well deserved, but I think it's also partly a lot of misunderstandings, and then thirdly, a little bit of what would be the word? Resentment, anger towards me.
Well, good. Well, that's what we're here for. Maybe we can clear some air and maybe have some less resentment by the end of this. Maybe you explain
more.
your decisions.
No.
But that's what this stuff is for. It was a fun game. Crazy game, long game, tiring
You got something to say, Nate? You're just cackling over there, dude.
Oh man, just funny stuff.
Oh, okay.
Nate's got some words, but what was your favorite part about the game, about Assassin's Creed, about the experience?
I really enjoyed pre-merge before my whole game got twisted and messed up. Like that first 2 challenges back to camp, like I felt so comfortable and I was having so much fun with, at the time my main alliance was Gabe and Allie, and it just felt like we would go to the challenge, we would do amazing, we would come back, and it was like we were all just in like a zen. It was so good. But looking back, it wasn't at all. It wasn't what I thought it was. But at the time, I was having fun before that when I felt good, and then post-merge was just crazy. I didn't have time to have fun.
Yeah, winning, when you win, when your tribe keeps winning, it's easy to have a good time. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some of your castmates. Was there anyone that impressed you during your time out there? Anyone that you were like, okay, this cat's just, no, not, but turns out that they impressed you in some way?
Yeah, Gabe impressed me a lot. I told you before the game, I thought Gabe would not do that good because I didn't think he had the ability to lie or do any of that, and I thought he would talk himself into getting voted out. But he did a really good job, and hats off to Gabe.
Specifically, what did he do well?
He did good at making friends, and I think he did a good job at whenever he would do something bad, they didn't know that he was a part of it, really. I mean, minus Thomas. Thomas definitely knew. But
So he's just good at like covering his tracks.
yeah, I think all in all, just like
Looking like
he's
a
just
baby
got
face.
that good country boy vibe. Like
Mhm.
people just liked him, you know.
Dangerous, I suppose. And is there anyone that you felt had a lackluster game?
Like they underperformed.
Sure.
Yeah, compared to what you would have thought.
I don't want to get myself in trouble here.
They can't vote you out.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
game's over.
Come on.
I mean, honestly, this not lackluster game. How do I say this? He didn't have the most lackluster game. But
Ronnie.
Yeah.
yeah,
Calling
he
it.
disappointed. He disappointed me the most. Like before we started playing, obviously didn't talk to him pre-game, but once we got into the game, I really wanted to work with him, and I almost got the vibe like when I tried to talk to him that like I felt inferior to him, and the fact that he wouldn't work with me kind of pissed me off. And then, he ended up going pretty quick. So I think because I thought he would be top 4.
Yeah.
Do you think that was like purposeful on his part to make you feel that way or not?
I don't think he purposefully meant to make me feel lower, but I mean, at the time, he had what he thought was a really strong group, and I was an outsider, so I can't really hate on him for not wanting to like be super duper friendly with me.
Yeah, and I agree. That makes sense from from his own mindset, looking at who he had. He probably thought, "I've got this unstoppable
Yeah. I mean,
alliance that's never gonna fall apart."
There was no reason to work with me, but at the same time, I mean, my opinion's a little biased, but I wanted him to work with me really badly.
I mean, in Survivor, even if you don't need anybody, you definitely don't want to give off the impression of, hey, I'm not working with you.
Yeah.
You always want everyone to feel like you have an open lingo between each other. You have an open forum. Otherwise, if someone feels like the door's closed, then you're the top one on their hit list.
Yeah, and he wasn't in any way, I'm not trying to say he was like openly rude to me, like he was shrugging me off when I tried to talk to him, but it was more of just like, you can read people's vibes, and like he was giving off that energy that he didn't really want to be seen talking with me or like alone, especially because that could get himself in trouble. So
Yeah, I think that Ronnie was probably dealt the worst hand, and I think that he did the best that he could with the hand that he got, and maybe he didn't necessarily know how to get out of the situations that he was in and the political standing, the social standing that he was in this game. It was very opposite of the last time that he played.
Yeah, well, he had to go to the first 4 tribals, him and Peyton both.
yeah.
When you have to go to the first 4 tribals, I mean, even if you're one of the best players in the world, like that hinders your game,
Yeah.
Like,
And it already puts like a mental image in everyone else's mind. Like, this person's going to tribal, so their name is there, it's present, and that doesn't disappear going into a merge.
Yeah. And I mean, post-merge, he had opportunities. I was playing my game, so I didn't have my eye just 100% on him, so I don't know who all he went and talked to. But I know but from when we had our tribal council pre-merge and Peyton got blindsided to when Ronnie got blindsided, which I don't even know if it was a blindside, you can say that. But he did not say a single word to me from that time to that time. So post-merge, he didn't even try to like say like, hey, let's vote for this person. It really felt like we were just on complete opposite sides of the spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Well, speaking of the Peyton blindside, in the jury questioning, Ronnie himself asked you what was your best move in the game, and you responded with blindsiding Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know if you know this or not, but when Ronnie came to vote and he voted for you as the winner, he told us in that room if you had answered with any other move other than that, he would have not voted for you to win. So he voted for you because in his mind you correctly identified what your best move was. So if you could just kind of take us through that again, like why was that your best move? And I know we went through it with the jury, but that was kind of a shortened, quick answer. Maybe kind of take us through your thought process.
Well, I had that move from the early on in the game in my pocket, and I was ready for jury to throw that out there. And throughout the entire game and sitting outside waiting to come in here for the final jury, I 100% thought that was my move. And then when I got back in here, Abby tried to take credit for that move, and there was a couple people that I feel thought that I had nothing to do with that. And that happened with multiple different moves in the game. Like, I feel like I got no credit for, but at the same time, people were super pissed at me. So I was, like, balancing this thing, like, either I was a part of the move or I did something to make the move happen or I did nothing. Like, you can't really be mad at me if I did nothing. But specifically on the Peyton move. So what happened was I had my strong alliance, tribe swapped. I got put with Sam, who he was technically in my alliance on the other tribe, but like we had not talked like hardly one-on-one at all. And I'd never met the guy. Like I didn't know how much I could trust Sam. And I'm sorry, Sam. Like now that I know you better, I love you, bro. But at the time, you kind of sketched me out, and I thought you were lying. So I didn't really trust Sam at all. So I was like, dang, I'm like really on the outskirts here. We have Ronnie that will barely talk to me, Peyton, who just felt like Ronnie's wingman, and then we had Abby, who I kind of identified. She looked like she was on the outskirts of that alliance. So I won't lie. First, I went to Peyton. Well, first I went to Ronnie and Peyton, and I tried to get them to work with me. Well, we have to skip past whenever we voted out, what was his name?
Pageant? Robbie?
Yeah, Robbie, because he doesn't even really count as a player. Because, like, so whenever we first swapped tribes, it was me, Robbie, Sam, and then Peyton, Ronnie, and Abby. So it looked like from the surface a 3-3 even split. But in all actuality, it was me and Sam and Robbie who, from the beginning of the game, would not work with anyone, said, I don't want to be here, just vote me out. I will not work with you. I won't talk strategy. I have no reason to talk strategy. I don't even want to be here. Just vote me out. So it's literally just me and Sam versus those three because they got Robbie out right off the bat, and obviously we voted with them because just to save our own butts. So then fast forward, I tried to talk to Ronnie and Peyton to get them to like maybe flip on Abby or Sam and not vote me. But I didn't really want to vote Sam out because that didn't really help me all that much. I would still be at the bottom of that. They weren't really feeling that, so then later on I pulled Peyton away, and I was like, yo, let's blindside Ronnie. And I tried to convince him that. He was not having that at all. So then I just went down the line. I said, Sam, let's blindside Peyton. And I was the one who walked up to Abby and told her that idea, which is why the whole game I thought that was my idea. Now, later on, she tells me that she was planning on doing that all along. If that's the truth, then that's the truth. But all I know from my perspective was I was the one that walked up to her and told her the idea. So that's why I took credit for that move.
Okay, that makes sense. And obviously some credit's due to her because she did it.
Yeah.
In my eyes personally, which I don't know that my opinion matters too much on this, but even though like I do think it was your best move, it seems like an obvious one. Am I wrong on that? Like,
Explain what you mean by that.
What I mean by that is that clearly you're going against Ronnie and Peyton, and the only way to break that up was to pull their third person off that was not in tight with them.
I'm sorry, I've been sitting quiet too. I'm going to interject on some things. Hi, I'm Nate. I'm also part of this podcast.
Yeah.
So there is one major thing that I give Tyler as a whole. I know this is more of an interview. This is more just me saying a statement now. There's one thing I give Tyler as a whole credit for his victory in this game, and it's that he did do the obvious.
Mm-hmm. No, I wasn't saying.
No, that wasn't like me attacking.
I wasn't saying it was an out of the blue move.
Exactly.
I was just saying it was the obvious one.
But what I will say though is that a lot of times we don't see people do the obvious moves.
Yeah, I agree.
And that's what I think. Like that's why I give him so much credit for his game. Is he did do the obvious moves. For specifically 11 and 3, which we'll get into 3 later. But specifically out of 11. I know that from conversations we had with both, for example, in that same tribe, we had conversations with Ronnie and Peyton, and both of them even said, I'm considering taking a shot at the other. They were even considering like taking each other out right there. They didn't do it. And even Abby, whether the decision on who she was taking out right there at that point in time, she said because Tyler did come up to her and present that, that she did feel comfortable enough with numbers to make a move to take out Ronnie or Peyton, regardless which one it was. She was ready to take that move. And so I do want to give you, I guess that's me giving you credit for that. And I do want to give you credit for that move.
Thank you.
In that regard, that whether you orchestrated as much as you thought you did, I don't know. But to the point that like you were willing to take action and did it, I think is big. I think that's where you get credit on that.
I mean, I think me and Abby both deserve credit for the move. I don't think it's a competition of who deserves more credit.
Right.
But we all were valuable parts to it. So, and then I was just.
Yeah, and all I was saying was that it was obvious for a lot of reasons. It was Ronnie and Peyton's big mistake in the game for both of them. Both made the same mistake, was making you and Abby both feel on the outs. And especially that round, they should have been talking to Abby more than what they talked to anybody else, and they neglected her that round. And you saw that and picked her up and got Peyton out. And that was one thing. The trajectory of the game.
That was one thing I went up to her and told her, and I said straight to her face, I was like, Abby, you are on the bottom of this. I was like, if you can't see that, they're not with you. You are with them. And I mean, if she already had the idea in her mind, then I guess that didn't really matter. But I thought that was a good, convincing strategy, was helping open her eyes to realize that she wasn't really a part of what she thought she was a part of.
Yeah, I know that Abby was afraid of coming off that she was an enemy to Ronnie and to Peyton, and then them voting her out because of that. I know she wanted to be stealthy in that regard. The only real true alliance that Abby had from the beginning was trying to get with Melissa and eliminating any sort of obstacle in that way. She knew that Peyton and Melissa were really good friends. And so by eliminating Peyton, she got closer with Melissa. It just makes sense.
Yeah, no, it did. That part of it made sense more for her too, because from what I know of, Peyton and Melissa were each other's final two.
Right.
Even though Peyton may have had that deal with Ronnie, and Melissa may have had that deal with Abby, as far as what I can tell from talking to them both, they were each other's true final two. And so and Ronnie was actually Peyton's number 2, and same thing with Abby and May. So Abby getting rid of Peyton, you both getting rid of Peyton, really pulled May closer to her and really solidified that.
Let's think about what would happen if Peyton was more susceptible to working with you and Peyton stuck around and Ronnie went there. If Peyton was still in the game, what would have happened?
I mean, in the long run, it probably wouldn't have even worked out that good, because I didn't know at the time that May, Lisa, and Peyton were so tight.
Exactly. The game would have been totally different.
Which is honestly also really funny, looking back, that they're so tight. Was right after the merge, one of the first things I said to May, Lisa, when I pulled her aside, was I got Peyton out. I didn't realize that was her friend at the time, but that's just funny.
And I think also another thing there that was so big about that move was that, and this is something that I always do whenever I play. I don't know, I'm sure you think the same way, but I always group people together, kind of like Game of Thrones-ish, by houses or whatever. And by eliminating Peyton, you killed House Ronnie. House Ronnie had no soldiers left, essentially. That was his main soldier that he could take to merge another house in a wedding or something. You know what I'm saying?
True. Well, I didn't know what strength he had on the other tribe, because a couple of his members were over there.
Sure.
But yeah, I see exactly what you're saying.
So that's why I think that was a big move too. And sorry, I actually want to ask you. So I was most intrigued, and I want to know kind of your perspective, you and Gabe's perspective, probably from this, specifically at 7. Because on the outside, I have absolutely no clue what happened at 7. And what happened at 7 made no sense. And because of what happened at 7, I think it made the game obvious that either you or Gabe was going to win. At least from an outside perspective, I was like, okay, because of what happened at 7.
What happened?
Yeah.
Sorry, I will explain.
I won the game.
Sorry.
I don't know what happened at 7.
Mason was there, and Mason doesn't know what happened at 7.
So at 7, that was the vote that we saw, it seemed like 50 advantages pulled out at Tribal, and Ryan went home.
Yeah, Ryan.
God.
Okay. Yeah.
So I want to know your perspective. This is even just for me as a fan. I'm not even counting the podcast here. As a fan, I want to know what happened at 7, so
Okay.
please let me know what happened at 7.
Do you remember what all advantages were played at 7?
There were 2 poison darts, 3 out of votes, two out of votes by Ryan. Was an idol played at 7?
Abby played an idol on Melissa.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But that got poison darted, didn't it?
No, so
Ryan played her
Ryan
poison
put
dart
dart
on
on
Melissa.
Abby played her idol on Melissa because
Yeah.
Melissa couldn't play her own idol. On
So
her.
what happened on 7?
And
It was
Melissa
just-
played her poison idol or poison dart
She
on.
couldn't.
Okay,
Yeah,
she couldn't.
That's right.
So it was super chaotic, and
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I remember
I
correctly,
told you, it always happens at 7.
Mm-hmm.
if I remember correctly, what was happening was we had basically Allie and Ryan, specifically Allie, was really trying to push this idea of like splitting the votes like 2-2-2.
A plurality.
Yeah, like she really wanted to split the votes.
It's never actually been done in our Survivor yet.
And I really didn't want to do that, and so there was a little bit of like conflict there between what we should do. And I'll be honest, going into that tribal, I don't know what it looked like if me and Gabe had done something really cool, but just to be quite honest with you, there was so much going on. I don't think walking in there anyone knew what was happening.
Mm-hmm.
Like because everyone knew it had a different story. At 7, like none of us trusted each other.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, we were all just kind of like, what is about to happen? And I remember I was dead set on voting Ryan, and I told Gabe to vote Ryan, and I don't know who Gabe ended up voting for that round. Do y'all know?
Gabe voted correctly.
I think he voted,
Yeah.
so it would have been Ryan.
Yeah,
Okay.
and he always got Ethan to do whatever he did.
Oh, yeah, I forget about Ethan.
And that would make sense. I think it naturally would have been a 5-2, but Ryan played her advantages and ended up being
Yeah. So
something different.
she wanted us to
4-3,
split,
4-3, yeah.
and because of that split idea, that got around to Abby and Melissa, and that was the reason that she played that idol. But
Yeah,
it
and there was some misunderstanding too there on when stuff could be played
yeah.
on Melissa's part, which there was a lot of that the whole game, but yeah, I just don't think people were reading stuff as thoroughly as they should have.
Yeah,
But that added to the confusion too, was the fact that stuff is trying to be played when it can't.
And that was,
I'm sorry.
as a player, like, I'm glad that Ryan's thing didn't work because that would have really screwed all of us up. But as a fan, like, Ryan, if you're listening to this, props to you. That was a great effort. Because if that would have worked, what you did with all those advantages, that would have been one of the coolest plays I've ever witnessed.
I'm sorry. Just, I guess to piggyback even more so, again, this is from an outside perspective, so maybe this doesn't have any play in what actually happened. From an outside perspective, it made sense for the 4 girls to work together at that point in time because it seemed like from an outside perspective that you, Gabe, and well, specifically you and Gabe, and you could throw Ethan in there as well, were running the game. And so it made sense from an outside perspective, these 4 come together. So I guess more so what I'm asking is how did y'all play a game in such a way that you convinced the girls to take a shot at each other at 7 to essentially deflate all their games?
Well, one person that played a major role in the girls not getting together was Ethan. Was because Ethan and Abby were like this. They were rock solid. I would say out of everyone in the game, from Ethan's point of view, the Ethan and Abby alliance was the strongest in the game. He was not going to vote for Abby ever. Like, until the very, very end when he really had to. And I don't know if that's how Abby felt as well, but I know from all the conversations I had with Ethan that they were extremely tight. So I think that's a reason that the girls never all got together. And also just because nobody really trusted Allie. So.
Yeah, she made it obvious that she's a gamer, which, I mean, I've watched her play 3 different games now, and that tends to be what most other players' perception of her is that she's a gamer, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because if you get to the end, then everyone thinks, oh man, like you played this great game, like you were working hard, but at that stage of the game, like final 6, 5, it's hard to get through that.
She was a great player, and I think her downfall could have potentially been playing a little too much because she could have easily blindsided me so hard, because at the very beginning of the game, like I was saying earlier, my tight three was Gabe and her. And I thought they were super tight with me. And then later on, I get told by Gabe that Allie had walked up to Gabe and said, "We can't trust Tyler. I don't want to go along with Tyler." So that like ruined my relationship with her, and I was like, "Wow, I can't trust her." And then literally, not 5 minutes later, Allie comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, Gabe told me the only reason he's here is to vote you out." So I was like,
truth.
I was like, okay, my two who I thought were strongest people, I can't trust either of them, and that was before we split. Then we split, and they're on a different tribe for however many challenges, and we get to merge, and I'm like, I don't trust anyone here. Like, I literally do not have a single alliance member, aside from Ethan, who, thank God, he ended up being a homie. But, yeah, so.
Do you think that what do you think that your biggest asset into winning was for your game?
I think if you were to take all of my moves and like sum up what got me the farthest, it wasn't a tribal type thing. It wasn't manipulating a group of people. It was manipulating Gabe. And I hate to say that because he's a good friend of mine, but I mean, it goes to show he told multiple people. He told you and he told Allie that the only reason he was there was to vote me out. And then he ended up saving my butt twice, which I think I deserve a little credit for.
Yeah, I think that Gabe definitely was your biggest asset. I think that, and there's videos of you saying it, I think that you relied on him more than you probably admit so far. And who doesn't, have a situation where it's just like, I don't know what can happen right now, but I know I have this dude's back, and I really know that he has mine, and I'm really counting on him to come through right now.
Yeah.
So I totally get that.
But I hate the idea that people say that I like piggybacked off of Gabe, because I don't think it was a piggyback situation.
I don't think we're saying that. Maybe that's
what it felt like with the jury.
You feel like that's the jury's perception of what happened.
Exactly.
Maybe that is the jury's perception. But
when I think it's just the jury's perception because he did save me those times. But I think Gabe will admit to you that we worked together on most things. There was not a single time I was like, Gabe said, "Let's vote this person." "Yes, sir, Gabe. I'm going to do whatever you say." I had an opinion on everything that happened.
And I think that it goes both ways, too. Gabe...
It always does.
Yeah.
This is an argument as old as Survivor, and whenever someone does save you.
I think that ultimately what it comes down to is the reason why you and Gabe worked together as long as you did wasn't because necessarily you were manipulating him or that he was manipulating you. It was because what was good for the goose is good for the gander. What move that you decided of the person that needed to go that benefited you the most also benefited Gabe. So that's why you guys ultimately kept voting together was, well, now we got to get rid of Allie. That benefits Gabe. Well, that benefits Tyler. So now we got to get rid of Allie. That helps me. That helps you. Now we got...
It's a very Dominic and Wendell situation from Ghost Island where they were clearly each other's biggest
Frenemies.
Threat to win.
Yep.
But in order to get to the end, they had to work together. That was just the way that it worked out. And I think that was really similar with you and Gabe. And obviously the main difference being that you got rid of him at 3.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which was huge, by the way.
Mm-hmm. Which I know Nate's wanting to talk about that for sure.
You want to talk about that?
I do.
Okay, let's talk about it.
I mean, I think it's pretty self-explanatory what happened there. I mean, just for a recap, Tyler won the final 3 immunity, and so it was essentially it was in his hands. Do I take Ethan or do I take Gabe?
It was like, do I take Ethan, or who has been like a good loyal buddy of mine, hasn't really done anything I know I'm gonna beat, or do I take Gabe, who I know the entire jury aside from Thomas basically loves, and I know they all think he played a better game than me, and I know that he saved my butt, and like everyone thinks we're best friends. So it was not a hard decision at all, honestly.
So I know mentally that wasn't a hard decision. However, you would be No, I guess you wouldn't be surprised as you watch. It's amazing how many people in real life, when there's actual real money on the line, don't make that decision.
All the
Yeah.
time.
All the time.
Wu taking Tony in
Mhm.
Kagayan, like it's
Yeah.
one of the biggest like mistakes ever.
Yeah, well,
And-
I'm glad you guys brought this up because this was one thing that I wanted to talk about when I came here. Was like I told you guys earlier, I'm a big Survivors fan. I've watched a lot of Survivor, and I think another one of my strong attributes playing this game is that I can differentiate the game from real life. When I came in, and I know I don't think a lot of people, like everyone can do that, and I know a lot of people probably don't even like me from playing the game with me, but I'm sort of a Survivor sociopath. Like when I went to the game, I know it's a game. It's like I'm playing Clue or something. I literally have no emotion towards anyone, and I was going into the game thinking that. I was like, if I have to lie to you, I don't care. Like, you're gonna get over it in a couple of days. Like, it's just a game. And so I didn't let my emotions really get the best of me, and that might make me sound like a bad person, but I really wish people would just understand that it's just a game in my eyes, and I don't consider this real life at all.
Yeah, something that we covered with the game podcast is, everyone's literally signing up for a game where deceit and lying is part of the basic strategy plan. It's like, how do you play this game? Well, you make connections and you see who's the best liar is basically how you play the game. You don't have to do that, but that's like you playing Yahtzee and only using 4 dice. Like,
And people ask me, like, they asked me at the final jury, like, do you regret anything? Do you regret the way you play? And I don't regret the way I play simply because I won, but if I could go back and do it again and still win, I would take into account the jury's feelings more so that...
I think that's your greatest downfall.
Yeah, because it goes back to, like, I think if everyone had my mindset, the mindset of this is a game and I don't care, then I think the jury would not be mad at me at all, and I don't think we would have argued in the final jury. Because in my mind, I was sitting out there and I was going to walk inside, and I thought people were going to be like, he played a great game. He lied to all of us all game, and he got here. But I got inside, and they were all really pissed off. So when I play in the future, I definitely want to play as, like, a more truthful person. I don't want to be as deceitful because I lied my butt off the entire game.
Mm-hmm. And that's the beautiful thing about Survivor is we all come into it with this preconceived notion of what it is. Like the way I view Survivor is very similar to how you view Survivor. Like that's how I would like to play too. But not everyone thinks of it that way. There were people on the jury that have never played this game before and don't know what this game is about. And so they're having to formulate their own opinions of what is this game about while it's happening, which is a really hard thing to do. In the case of, like, Thomas being super mad about Gabe voting him out and getting a super idol, like, we all thought that was an amazing move, and if that happened to any of us, I think we would have been like, props to you, that was a hell of a move.
And that's
but to him, it was...
You got me.
Yeah,
100%.
It was, I trusted you and you effed me over.
Yeah,
and so
for sure.
that's the crazy thing and the great thing about Survivor at the same time is that every jury is different, and so you have to always play if you want to win, you have to always play in a way that suits how the jury as a whole
100%.
wants the game
And
to be
that's
seen.
been the downfall of my... Can you guess who my favorite player is of all time? Russell Hance.
You're about to say Russell Hayes.
Yeah, he's
That's
my
true.
all-time favorite player, and that's been his downfall. Every time I've watched him play, aside from season 22 when he got voted off real quick, I was like, that was an amazing game. And then he gets to the end, and the jury's like, we hate you.
Yeah, it's because he bullied with fear.
Why do you think that you couldn't learn from his mistake if he's like your favorite player and you played very similarly to him to the T, to where it's you lied, but then you lied just carelessly and hurt people's feelings?
Yeah, I have no answer for that. I mean, my answer would be I got caught up in the game. I was having fun. I was having really fun walking up to someone, looking dead in their eyes, and getting them to believe me when I was lying.
He was going, Abby, are you with me or are you against me?
I'm against you. No, I'm against you, Russell.
But it's like, I feel like I've graduated from this chapter of, like, being a terrible human being. And I want to, as I move on, be, like, a more respectable and less Russell Hantz type of player.
Well, you do compare yourself to Russell Hantz, but people actually like Russell Hantz. So do you think that's an insult to Russell Hantz?
No. I think people like me. Some people. Nate, shut your mouth. I heard you murmur over there.
Listen. You entertained me the whole night of Survivor.
Thank you.
There's a lot of people that can say that. Especially when you wrote down Mason's girl. As you voted out Melissa, you took the time to write out Mason's girl because you forgot her name. And now you sit here wearing a best grandpa ever hat as we're doing an interview, which is why I started laughing at the beginning of this interview and couldn't control it for a few minutes for all those noises early on.
Hey,
I apologize.
Lisa, I'm sorry. I did forget your name.
But he cares. He cares
Very
so
cute.
much.
I didn't ever said I cared.
Damn. Now we got it on tape. So people say that your game was sloppy, reckless. You left blood everywhere.
Yes.
Careless, thoughtless. Did you plan your game to go that way, or did you just wing it as you go? Or
No, I actually, like I said, I wanted to play like Russell Hantz, but I didn't want to be a complete douchebag. But
okay,
well, y'all good?
yeah, we're good.
Okay.
We're good.
I think I said this at jury, but when the whole tribe swap happened, and then we had the Peyton blindside, I had the two people come and tell me that the other person didn't like me. I came to the merge and I had like no friends. I had no alliance members. And that was when I got to the point where I was like, you know what, I'm just going to wing this. I'm just going to do whatever I have to do to get farther. And that caused a lot of...
So there was some winging going on.
There was a ton of winging going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't think... I think you're getting lied to if someone tells you that they won a Survivor game like perfectly to plan and then have to wing some of it.
In your own
Yeah.
words, how would you summarize your game?
I feel like I'm going to dig myself in a hole right here.
No, how would you honestly summarize your game?
I would summarize my game as manipulative. Yes, it was bloody, but it was productive.
It's simple, but yeah, I understand what you're saying.
I've been asking everyone this because I think it's a really good conversation topic. So typically in the game, you know, it's really easy to see in the early of the games who the social outcasts are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you got a dude waving around sticks over here. Somebody's threatening to kill you with a knife over there. One person
Yes.
says that right out the gate that they aren't really here to play. So why do you think that those people always typically seem to go first in Survivor when they are never like the masterminds? They're the loyal people. They're the ones on the outs. Shouldn't you and wouldn't you want to scoop up those people so they'll be your loyal diehard minions to the very end because you're the only one that spoke with them?
Yeah. So those types of players, I'm not going to say specifically social outcasts because I've seen social outcast players do well in the long run, but I'm just going to say, let's say the stereotypical weaker players that you know aren't going to win the game. I see what you're saying where you should bring them on because you know you're not going to win, and I think one or two usually do. Like, I love you, Ethan, but he was one of those people. Like, everyone knew he wasn't going to win, but they brought him along because they knew it wasn't going to win. But we can't bring them all because they're also very prone to getting stolen from you. Because it's really easy to walk up to someone and say, you're not going to win with these people. You need to come with us. And they'll flip quite often when you tell them that. Because one of my biggest lies that I told Gabe a lot, I told Abby, I told Melissa, is I would tell them, I'm not a threat to you. Keep me. You're going to beat me in the end. And I would walk up to Gabe and I would say, Allie's going to beat you. I would walk up to Melissa and say, or Allie, and I would say, Gabe's going to beat you. When we had this little yelling fiesta, me and Allie, when she was telling Gabe that I just told her I was going to vote Gabe out, and I was like, no, I didn't say that. I definitely said that. I told Allie that because I told her he was going to beat her because that's what you have to do. You have to play with people's egos. You have to make them realize they're not going to win, and then they'll usually vote with you.
Yeah, I mean, we can speak a little bit about our Survivor Canada experience in comparison to social outcasts in the early game. Specifically on my tribe, it was very obvious that Cole and Jeff were the two like obvious social outcasts that if we lost, one of these two was going to go first. But Kirk concocted this masterful plan where whoever's the social outcast, I want to scoop them up so that way, no one else is talking with them. Everyone's already decided they're going to go, but these are now going to be my minions. And then there was like a whole secret plan to like keep them in and all this good stuff. One end up being super loyal to Kirk, and they went all the way to the Final Four together. So one of the social outcasts, well, he's not necessarily a social outcast, but was originally perceived to be a social outcast, was loyal to the end. And the other one did turn out to be wishy-washy, but that's because he merged, and when he merged, he was on the other side, and he didn't really have a choice.
Yeah, I mean, in that situation, I was on the other tribe, and we all knew on the other tribe who, like, the person that was going to go was, which turned out because of, like, Cheston and Kirk and how that plan worked out, that wasn't going to be the case. But, yeah, it's usually easy to tell, and I get what you're saying about those types of players can be scooped up out from underneath you sometimes. I do think another reason that a lot of times those players don't get scooped up in the beginning is because in the beginning, when you first have to go to tribal, you're looking for almost any justifiable reason to get rid of somebody.
Yeah.
And so if everyone is agreeable on, hey, this one person needs to go because of this, then it gets really hard to like try to keep that person, because then you don't want to make waves on the first tribal, because you can't just keep that person on your own in the first tribal. You got to convince other people to do it too. And it takes a skilled, masterful player in the game to do that.
Yeah, for sure.
And I will say another, I'll be quick because I know we're getting short here, but another big thing, and this was always, my perspective whenever I played, is it seems like every time I played, I had at least somewhat of a target on my back just because people just thought I was a good player. I don't know why. So they would just always, I felt like there was some ambiance around my name, like, ooh, it's Nate. And so whenever you're a strong player, or at least for me, my greatest fear was always the beginning of the game. That was literally always my greatest fear was the beginning of the game. Whenever
you don't have any control.
Ooh, exactly. And so the one argument that I'm always able to do to make sure to keep myself safe is feeding this false plagiarism, this false narrative of we need to be tribe strong. All 6 of us going to merge together, and we're all going to be friends, we're going to be pals. But we can't do that if we keep losing challenges at the beginning because Fat Boy can't run half a mile without Snickers.
Yeah.
So, it's always like, hey, we need to vote out these weak outcasts now so we can win challenges.
And that seems to be a very common theme in like the U.S. Survivor. That almost happens every single season.
Exactly.
So it's a good strategy.
And that's always my perspective on that issue. That's why I personally, I love those players post-merge. Absolutely love them. Those are my favorite people to go talk to. Pre-merge, though,
they're easy targets.
I have to get them to get to merge, essentially. It feels like every time I play. So.
Yeah, I mean, if you feel like you're going to have a target on your back, you have to do something to make the target bigger on somebody else's or shrink yours, both at the same time if possible. But sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes all you can do is try to say, okay, we need to get this person because of this reason.
Yeah. So I know we're basically out of time, so I'll just say this sort of in closing. One thing I also wanted to get off my chest, because I know I played, and we've already discussed it a lot, a very deceitful game. There's a lot of bloodshed. But what a lot of people didn't notice was there was one person, and his name's Ethan. And I want to reiterate that I did not keep him around or be friends with him or anything of that matter because he was a quote-unquote sheep or didn't play that good. At the very beginning of the game, we shook hands and said, Final 3, me and him. And throughout the entire game, he was the only player that never lied to me. And I think that speaks a lot that I stayed true and loyal to him. Because loyalty speaks words. If Allie would have never told Gabe that she didn't like me and she didn't want me to be around, I would have never backstabbed Allie or gone against her. Same with Gabe up there until the end, until obviously he's about to beat me. But loyalty speaks a lot.
How come you never guessed that Gabe was lying to you? How come you just instantly believed Gabe?
I don't know. I guess he just gave me those eyes. I felt like he was telling the truth, and I felt like when Abby literally came right up to me and said the same thing, I felt like they were both playing each other and playing me at the same time.
So is it just something like former friendship with Gabe, or just
That
that he just has that quality? Is that more what it is?
I would be lying if I said our former friendship didn't play a fact, and like I felt like he was telling me the truth, but it came to fruition. He was telling me the truth, so
All-Stars.
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 What about it?
What the future may hold.
Yeah.
You excited for it?
Yeah, I'm pretty pumped. It'll
Yeah.
be fun. Is All-Stars gonna be all winners or what?
I don't know. I guess show up and find out
Okay,
if you
cool.
make the cut.
There's only 6 of us so far, so we probably need a few more.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I'm super excited for All-Stars. I'm excited to play with people that share similar experiences with me, are a lot more in tune with what the game is, and yeah, I'm ready. I want to play a different game, but at the same time, we never know what's gonna happen.
What type of people do you want to work with?
He wants to get rid of Nate and Mason first, right?
I kind of feel like that's what y'all two think about me, actually. But I don't want to dive too deep into what's gonna happen at All Stars. I don't want to like talk myself into a dead end or anything. But I think I just want to play with people that are loyal. I've said this like
Doesn't everybody?
I've said this 3 times tonight, but I want to play a more loyal game this next time. I want to win and show people, look, I can win being an asshole, and I can win being Boston Rob and being a nice guy. You know?
Yeah, I mean, I can't speak for Nate, Mr. Win every vote on the jury over there, but I feel the same way as far as, like, I know there was stuff that I could have done differently and do better, and so I don't want to play the same game that I'm played.
Yeah.
I'm sure you don't want to play the same game that you played, because who's going to play the same game twice and have a chance at winning? None of us.
Yeah.
Like, we all got to play a little different.
And at the same time, I think I'll play differently. Like, y'all might agree with me on this. Y'all might disagree as fellow winners. But I sort of feel like I won. Like, I don't have anything to prove. Like, I already won once. So, I'm not as pressured in winning as I was the first game. So, I think I can play a little bit more of a different game. And if I end up going out, be content with it.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think I feel similar.
I go into, or hopefully go into All-Stars with only one preconceived notion, with only one way that I want to change my game, and it's that Jacob's hole's not making merge. That's it. That's my only preconceived
I don't
thing.
even know him, so I'm excited
Don't
to meet
worry.
him.
Do you think you played a dirty game?
Yeah. He played a dirtier game.
You have not played the dirtiest game in Survivor Durant.
I think I'll love him then. We'll be good friends.
I'm taking him down. I'm going down trying. I'm not going to waste the whole time making
So
it jury to watch
you're not
him
going to
play.
hide that at all. Everyone in the game will know you have one mission.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Gabe had one mission too. Ask him how that went. So
I have one
Damn.
mission.
Here's just like a snippet. He had a final 2 with everyone in the game. Literally, legitimately.
It ain't his fault no one compared notes.
When I walked up to the game, had no clue who he is. And had no clue who he was. I probably weighed 20 less pounds than what I do now. He said, "You look athletic. Let's go to the final 2 together."
wow,
And what do you say? Do you say no?
you can't.
No, yeah, you did. You're just like, yeah, of course.
Jacobs, I feel like, has a bad rap. It ain't fair.
He's not going to listen to this. Don't try to act like he's not going to listen to this crap.
How do you know?
He's not going to listen to it.
What if he's the saboteur? If we have one, which I hate. I don't like the saboteur, but
Bring it. Bring it.
Well, this is exciting. Can't wait for All-Stars. Tyler, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thanks for having me.
Boys, y'all got anything else?
Want to throw in a little clue for the whole advantage? I'm gonna do a little podcast clue.
Yeah, I'll give y'all a podcast.
Find out who's listening, who's not.
Yeah, here's the clue. Tune in May
Oh my
10th. for the
You always
first-
do this.
if we're being really honest, this podcast probably isn't coming out until after the clue's been found.
It's fine.
All right. It's all good.
But whoever did find it, good job. It was pretty tough.
And when I find it, Peyton, you're welcome.
My final remarks. Appreciate everyone's time. Appreciate allowing me to come back and talk on this, even though I laugh at world's best grandpa hats. And also, I just want to speak to the level of competition that was in Assassin's Creed Part 1 and say that was really remarkable to watch. Mm-hmm. And I don't think there's very many people that should walk away from that game and hang their heads by any means at all. So that's what I'm going to say.
Except for Thomas. I'm sorry, Thomas.
Shit, you want to bring up Thomas? Talk about Thomas. Talk about Thomas. All right. What is about Thomas?
Thomas, if you have that much stuff, don't tell everybody about it.
Thomas was the king of finding shit.
Yeah.
And the king of not knowing what to do with it.
The best idols are the ones that don't exist.
I think that
Bin bone.
what Ethan said hit the nail on the head with people were finding stuff and couldn't keep their mouth shut.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's something that, maybe as our games progress and players get progressively better, they'll start learning that. We do have a lot of people that don't watch the show. Tyler was one of the few people from this season that watches the show and knows the kind of that stuff. But yeah, so maybe they'll learn. But anything else we want to add before the end of it? And then I'll kind of
I'm all
take us
good.
out.
I had fun.
I will drop a bomb during this podcast, a little all-star tea. All Stars is going to be held next year.
Okay.
So
we'll see if I get a break from PT school or not. I may not even get to play. But
I feel like that was already known.
Yeah,
You're going to get to play.
Honestly, I really don't know what my school schedule is going to look like at all. I may not get to, depending on when it is. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and end it there. If anyone that's listening to this wants to do a podcast with us, currently we don't have anything else lined up. We've talked to Gabe. We've talked to Tyler. If you want to do something, we might can line that up.
I bet Allie would like to spill her brain.
I would love to talk to Allie.
I would too.
She's FaceTime thing.
I feel like she's a person we wouldn't have to prompt very much. We could just let her go and go and go, and that would be a good podcast. But yeah. So, all right, we have talked with Tyler Hamblin, the winner of Survivor Assassin's Creed. We will see you guys either at the next podcast or at Survivor Season 6 Part 2 Twist of Fate. See you guys later.